And now, it's Chewing the Fat Summer Sport Show with your host, Bevan Jones.
Well, g'day and welcome to another edition of Chewing the Fat. Bevo here with you down at Helix Player Management today, and we're joined by a player from the Adelaide Crows women's side, also a part of the Helix Player Management group. That is Jess Foley. Jess is a doctor as well at the Noarlunga and Flinders hospitals, and she's been an international basketball star, played for the Adelaide Lightning, played college ball and represented Australia, so she's done it all. Jess, great to have you on Chewing the Fat. How are you finding your first year in the AFLW?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I'm really loving it. It's certainly different from basketball. I'm coming out with a few more bruises every week, but I've loved every minute of it so far.
And it must have been pretty special last year having your name called out in the national draft at number 30 from Sturt. Yeah,
it was pretty exciting actually. You know, obviously a lot of the draftees are a bit younger, and I remember sort of going through that, you know, for the WNBA many years ago. So it was exciting, and it sort of became real at that moment, and I thought, geez, I better get fit here.
Yeah, and talk to us about your transition from playing basketball, being a superstar basketball, obviously I mentioned before, playing college ball over there in America, which we'll talk about afterwards, and then going across to playing footy, playing with Sturt, and then to the Crows. Talk about that transition and what made you change from basketball to footy.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose my basketball career sort of came to an end, so mostly by choice. I'd played over 10 years in the National Basketball League in Australia. I'd played overseas. I'd been part of Australian groups, and the injuries were starting to just sort of stack up a little bit. And I also started going to med school at Flinders, so. I got to the point where I didn't feel I had the commitment for basketball anymore, and sort of stepped away. And I sort of started playing football by chance. You know, I went out and watched a bunch of the season 1 AFLW games, and I thought, this looks brilliant. I would have loved to, have a kick of the footy and play when I was a kid. And so I went and played for one of the local teams, and I thought, I'll get injured game 1 for sure. That'll be it. I kept showing up every week and just really enjoyed it. It was refreshing. I was surprised that, it was actually quite okay for my legs and joints and things like that. So one thing led to another, and then all of a sudden, Adelaide Crows started talking to me, and I thought, wow, that really escalated, but yeah, here we are.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congrats on the journey so far.
Thank you.
A bit of a light-hearted note, the whole of Australia seems to be watching Married at First Sight at the moment, Jess. Are you one of those until the girls get around it?
I haven't watched a single episode. I must admit I watched it last year, but I don't have a lot of evening TV time at the moment, so we tend to train at nights, and if I'm not at training, I'm at work. So I haven't seen it, but I've seen there's a lot of media coverage on it. Yeah. Every day when I look at the news, I'm like, why are they talking about this show so much? So no, I'm not watching it. I did hear that Sarah Allen, one of my teammates, watches it with her grandma.
Okay.
So, and I think her grandma and grandpa call it maths. So yeah.
There you go, pretty hip grandparents.
Yeah, they're well on top of it. Yeah.
Now, we talked about this before, that you're a doctor. I don't know how you do it, play footy and be a doctor at the same time. You work in Noarlunga and Flinders. How do you balance both of those, Jess?
I think if you looked at all of the girls who play AFLW, everyone's got a job. Everyone works quite a lot. We've got, Denny's a full-time nurse. Dana Cox is a police officer. We've got teachers. So I'm not the only one. We just find a way to fit it all in. You've just got to have good time management, be sort of present when you're at training, but, fit everything in around it, make sure you're recovering well and looking after your body. But, there's plenty of hours in the day.
Oh, good on you. That's impressive. And your journey into being a football player, we talked about basketball before. In the early 2000s, you played basketball for Duke, college basketball. Yeah. How'd you find that experience over there in America?
It was unbelievable. College sport is pretty amazing. We don't really have that sort of equivalent here in Australia. It's just so heavily followed. People love their college sports, but I had the great luck to go to Duke University, which is just a basketball mecca in the US. So I was around some pretty special people, and we got to national championship games. We were a pretty successful team. So one of the best experiences of my life.
And you spent some time with the Adelaide Lightning. Obviously, the Lightning made the grand final this year. Unfortunately, got beaten by the Canberra Capitals in the end. But pretty amazing effort by the Lightning after all the problems they had off court during this year.
Yeah, they had a lot to deal with, but it almost seemed like when all of the news came out about the financial hardships, the team just really came together and they just kept winning throughout the season. So I went and watched the second grand final match here in Adelaide, and it was one of the best games of basketball I've seen in a long time, and the crowd was just, there was I think about 4,000 people there. It was loud. It was a great game. So, it's a shame that they lost in the end. I think Canberra were a very good team this year, but I think it's good signs for them, and thank God someone's come through and financially backed them for next season.
Yeah, indeed. And finally as well, this season's going really well for the Crows women's side. At the moment, there's a real possibility you could be playing a final at the Adelaide Oval. What a buzz that would be, Jess.
Oh, it would be amazing. Adelaide Oval is such a great ground, isn't it? I love going to AFL matches there. So, look, we've got a fair bit to do before that comes to fruition. We have to win this weekend. It's such a tight conference that we're in. There's a lot of really good teams. So, we'll have to talk to you again after this weekend, I think.
Yeah, all the best with that. So, hey, next week is round 1 of the AFL. It kicks off. It's unbelievable. It's come around so fast. And we've got a big game next Thursday night between the Tigers and the Blues. Who's your tip with this one, Jess?
The Tigers, I think they've got to be hurting after last season, the way it finished for them. So they'll bounce back, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you with that one, I think. Friday night, it's the Pies versus the Cats at the MCG. Tip for that one?
Pies.
Pies?
Yeah,
Pies for me as well.
They might have been my team growing up, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
Still got a soft spot for them as well?
Oh, look...
Or more the Crows men's now.
Wait, of course, Crows, yeah.
Yeah. You have
to say that, right?
And on Saturday, my team, the Power, taking on the D's at the MCG.
I think that'll be a really tough game. I think that the Power can probably win that one.
Yeah, I'm going the Power as well. With maybe my head more than the heart, but heart more than the head with that one. But on Saturday twilight, it's the Crows hosting the Hawks at Adelaide Oval. Crows almost full strength now. Yeah,
I think that the Crows are ready for a big season. I'll back them in.
Crows for me as well. Saturday night, it's West Coast up against Brisbane. Last year's premiers against the Lions, who are a much improved side. That one's at the Gabba, so this should be a ripper.
Yeah, I think this might be my roughie. I think Brisbane will win that game.
Yeah, it's hard to go past West Coast. I think West Coast for me, I think they'll look pretty good this year again. Could go back to back, but we'll see, a long way to go. Mm-hmm. Also on Saturday night, we've got Western Bulldogs hosting Sydney at Marvel Stadium, previously Etihad Stadium.
I think I'll take Sydney on that one, so that'll also be a good game, but I'll take Sydney.
Yeah, Sydney for me as well. I think Buddy might go well in that one. On Sunday, we've got Freo hosting the Kangaroos at Optus Stadium over there in Perth.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like to go against Freo at home, but I think that North Melbourne might get them. I like North Melbourne over the last couple of seasons. Yeah,
I think Freo at home, just for me, I think they play very well over Optus Stadium, so it should be a good game of footy. Also on Sunday, we've got the Giants hosting the Bombers over there in Canberra.
Another tough match, because Bombers are, they're up and coming, I think, but I'll go with Giants, sort of on their home ground, I guess.
Yep, and the final game is the Saints versus the Suns, also at Marvel Stadium.
Suns for me.
Suns, yeah. Well, I think I'll go to Saints.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, Jess, it's been a pleasure having you on Chewing the Fat. Thanks for those AFL tips as well. We'll see how we go. We'll put that up on Facebook, how we both go.
Yeah. I'm a bit nervous. I don't know if I've done enough research.
No, you've done well. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Thanks.
All the best with the rest of the season. And well done on your first season. You're absolutely flying. And again, well done on your career so far with the basketball as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.